kind of about music podcast.
Cool. Let's start, right? Christian, welcome to the podcast, man. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? It's a hot day.
It is a hot day, mate. It is a hot day. I just come back from Barcelona last week.
Oh, wow.
Nice. The weather was awful, but and so come back here, it was like being on holiday. It was like
Barcelona was bad. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was raining, and well, it wasn't terrible, but it was wet and raining all the time.
They get that week, we get this week. So.
Exactly. Exactly. You've been all over the world in your music career. Where did you start off?
Well, I was born in Mexico.
Yeah.
And to family musicians. My parents had like a wedding band, and well, my dad played drums since he was like 14. That was his first job, only job he's had probably.
Yeah.
And they married quite young. Then they had my older brother who's a drummer, and I was the second. So it all kind of started there.
Family of drummers, so he needed somebody to play a real instrument.
Yeah, and I actually started playing drums as well, but it was my brother got really good really quick, and he's 5 years older than me, so it was kind of like, well, I need to learn something else, you know.
I'm so bad at drums. I sometimes on gigs, like I have to stand in for a drummer for like 10 minutes whilst it's the break, you know, like piano works stuff like that. And it's so bad. Like I can do a basic rock groove, but anything with fills or anything clever on the hi-hat.
Yeah, it's we both also played piano. We did classical piano I did for like 7 years.
Oh, that's amazing. So does that help a lot with your kind of understanding the theory and stuff? Because
it's actually, I used to be a really good reader when I played piano when I was a kid. I'm a horrible I'm a terrible reader on guitar, so it didn't really translate for me. Because on guitar I'm terrible at reading, and on the piano I can't really read anymore because I just don't play it anymore. But it was huge help. I kind of get really upset that I stopped because you know, these days, especially when you see these young guys who play like 5 instruments and nothing stops them anymore. You know, they're like, oh yeah, I started with drums and then I played bass.
Do you know Alex Lanyon? He's a friend of mine.
No.
He's just done a gig on. I don't know if he was playing for Coltrane or he was in the band supporting Coltrane, but he did like guitar, keys, synth, synth bass, all of them.
Yeah, it's incredible. So it's it's one of those things that I wish I would have kept going, but I always wanted to play guitar. So and when you're a kid, you can be quite stubborn. So I was just like, okay, I'm done with the piano. Like I'm going to be a guitarist. Same with my brother. He was like, I'm done with the piano. I want to be a drummer. And now he still plays. He probably plays more piano than me, but he still kind of like those. Oh man, I should have played more piano because piano is just such a complete instrument.
I think
if you get a chance to go for it, just stay with it. You know?
A lot of people guitar players and just people in general get to a point in their life with like, oh, I just wish I could play piano.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at some of the baddest like horn players, they all play piano fairly well. You know, they could do gigs on the piano. I mean, they'll tell you they don't. But when you see them, it's like, wow. Like a lot of horn players, they'll practice 2 hours a day of piano, aside from the 6 or 7 hours.
That makes a lot of sense because it's obviously the horn's not like a harmony instrument.
Exactly.
So for them, it must be like that. Must be where a lot of the mind gym sort of stuff goes on. You know? Yeah, because I think that is it's one thing that my dad's always talked about with guitar players. Like he's always been not. Because my
dad's a musician, right?
Professional guitar player for like since he was 15 and he's 72 now.
Beautiful.
So, but he was always like, he tried to play more chordally, almost more like a piano player on the guitar, even though he's playing electric. It's like that single note stuff that the kind of the metal players and stuff. Like if you want to do that, play a violin or whatever. But I can see with the horn players, you would need something that would, because it's so complicated, the harmony of bebop and all that sort of thing. That
you can tell that. Because I studied piano, right, classical, but I never really moved on to study harmony on the piano. So it doesn't translate as much. But you can tell the guys that learned like harmony on the piano, guitar players, you can tell when they're playing because their voicings and stuff, you know, it's a very un-guitaristic stuff. And the way they comp is unbelievable because they're not picking the same stuff. You know, do a lot of 2-note voicings or stuff like that. And you can tell like, oh, those guys probably learn harmony on the piano because it's, you know, you learn piano on
it makes sense. Guitar doesn't make any sense.
Whereas like, guitar, you kind of, if you just learn harmony on guitar, you sort of get stuck in your voice and your boxes and your little shapes and stuff.
Which is another reason why guitar players tend to kind of look at home players for lick ideas and stuff like that, and transpose solos, because they don't have a visual box, if you like,
right?
To kind of so it can get you out of playing that pentatonic, kind of standard stuff, and
it's just guitars. Yeah, when you learn that stuff, it just sounds so cool. Then you kind of get stuck in it for a while, and then
you spend ages trying to get out of it, and then you come back to it once you get to a certain point.
Yeah.
It's still actually cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
So you were in Mexico, and what age did you leave? Because you moved to New York, didn't you?
Yeah, so I left for the first time when I was 20, and I went just traveling. I went to Germany and spent like 3 months there, and then I moved to Los Angeles.
All right.
And kind of naively thinking like, oh, I'll move to LA and just audition for a band, and go on the road, which I almost did. I got close with one band that was signed with Maverick Records. This guy that was doing this kind of Dave Matthews. That's when Dave Matthews was a big thing. So this kind of acoustic guitar player it's beautiful music, and they were signed with Maverick, and the guitar player was leaving, and I almost got this gig, and they showed me the van, and they told me how much they were paying, all this stuff, and then the manager just said, what did he say? He said he was looking for a more rock and roll vibe. I guess at the time I didn't look rock and roll enough for him.
I've seen some of those old pictures of you. You're one of the most rock and roll people that I've ever.
It is so weird how, depending on the gig, I've lost gigs because I looked too rock and roll, and they were looking for more of a pop thing. And I've lost gigs because at the time I had long hair, or at the time I had short hair, and it's just such a.
You can't worry about that stuff too much. It's not. It's beyond your control.
If a manager's kind enough to tell you to change your look, then you're in luck. But a lot of the times they just don't even bother.
Yeah. No, I think. I started off as a rocker with like long hair, doing all I started off as a metal player. So
me too. Yeah, me
I've
too.
got some pictures that I've kind of sweeped off the internet. With just but I looked back on them the other day, and there was one I was like, I've got the long hair down to about there, and a beard and metal shirt on and a big guitar, and I'm like, and I kind of missed that.
Yeah, that was my thing. I think the first time, I grew up always. Music is just. It's not even like. There's one day where I remember I decided that it's always just been there. So my favorite tape was Band on the Run when I was like 4 or something, Paul McCartney. But the one thing I do remember for the first time, just really hearing guitar as a thing that just enchanted me was hearing David E. Roth's Eat 'Em and Smile record, and the Yankee Rose song with Steve Vai making the guitar laugh or whatever. And then listening to Van Halen Jump and like the 1984 album. That's when the guitar became this thing that I was like, wow, how do you do that? So I grew up with that. And then my parents had a band, and one of the guitar players in the band was a big classical. He played classical and heavy metal, and he brought in the trilogy Yngwie Malmsteen cassette tape one time to a rehearsal. And I listened to that tape for ages, just I couldn't believe that, you could sound like that on the guitar. So I was very much into metal, and then Dream Theater was my favorite band when I was an early teenager. Yeah. But then somehow it shifted. I got Al Di Meola was the first thing I got that was a bit more on the. I wouldn't say he's a jazz player, but improvisation and a little more.
There was that classic thing that him and what's the 3 guys who did
McLaughlin and Paco de Lucia.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I
forgot what it's called.
I got album from him. It was called Kiss My Axe, and it was really cool record. Really bad name. I didn't know in Spanish at the time what that meant. So it was just this is such an awesome album. And that album sort of changed. It was really cool because it had a lot of world music in it and a lot of acoustic, really cool picking stuff.
Yeah. His writing technique's ridiculous.
Yeah. And that kind of, and also I remember getting that album Casino that was Anthony Jackson on bass and Steve Gadd on drums, and I thought that was incredible. And then from then on, and my brother and my dad are big into jazz, so jazz was always around the house, Chick Corea and all this stuff was always in the house, but I was never. Maybe I just didn't get it at the time. I was but then I got like this John Scofield record that was called Blue Matter, and that sort of shifted completely for me. That was
you've talked to me about John Scofield before. Massive influence.
Yeah, I couldn't believe, like, there was something about that record. It was really funky, but the playing was just furious, you know. So it was like, it was not like swing, you know. It was this fusion thing, and I really got into that. And then also Scott Henderson and Tribal Tech. That was, you know, that kind of shifted everything for me.
What is it about Scott Henderson? Because I think actually that's the one that you were telling me about it when we were down at Churros.
Yeah.
You're saying that's for you. That's the guy. What is it about his playing that for you is?
Well, I think he also when you listen to him, he's got a cool podcast, the Guitar Wank.
No,
podcast.
really?
Yeah, with awesome. Bruce Foreman, a great master jazz guitarist, and they got a podcast in LA. They actually interview Albert Lee.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool,
It's a really cool podcast. So even when you hear him talk, he's not like a conservatoire kind of snotty, even though he's got all this deep knowledge of harmony and improvisation, and you can tell, and he tells you himself, he came from Ritchie Blackmore and Zeppelin and Hendrix.
Yeah.
And that's all he played when he was a teenager. So that's like in his DNA. He's more of a blues player, and Albert King and Stevie Ray Vaughan. So you can hear that in his playing. He's got this kind of ballsy, his tone and his just way of playing. But then he's got this incredible vocabulary.
Yeah,
that's more like Coltrane than it is, and then he mixes it in such a way that I think that's why I love it, because
what
it's
would be
got
your
the
standout track for somebody if they wanted to get into?
Well, he's got like two. Kind of like two careers that span. So there's Tribal Tech, which is more fusion, more like weather report stuff.
Right.
There's an album called Nomad that's really, really amazing.
Right. Okay.
And from that album, there's a couple of tracks. I can't remember right now the names, but just that album in particular is
one of
really cool.
One of his songs Dulcimite or something? Is that
Dolomites?
Dolomites.
That's from another. So then after Tribal Tech,
because you got that kind of chorusy sound. Like he's always got a bit of chorus. Is it?
Well, that's more. I would say Scofield has more of a chorusy sound.
Because when you gave me this list of them, because it was like 10 minutes after a Churros gig when you've been in the house band, and I was like, right, I'm gonna go and listen to all of these. And I think I get them mixed up now because I put them all in a playlist. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a listen to these and try and get some extra licks.
Well, so then what happened with Scott is that he said he went on. He started playing for fun, just some Led Zeppelin covers, and he had so much fun with it, he decided to make a blues record. So then after that, he sort of put Tribal Tech on the back burner, and he did like 3 or 4 blues albums with singers and stuff, and really, really cool blues records. And then he did some records with Steve Smith and Victor Wooten as well, and now he's done this sort of combination. His last album is called Vibe Station, really, really cool album, and it's almost like the perfect world between the two of them. It's very it's got very deep vocabulary, but it's very groovy as well, and it's not as dated. The sound is like, you know, that kind of that fusion sound.
So another friend of mine, do you know Dion Rush?
No,
guitar player. He always he's very into that fusion world of guitar players and stuff like that, and he talks about Oznoy.
Oznoy is also
and he's a New York guy.
He's an Israeli guy, but he lives in New York.
Yeah. So you.
I used to see Oznoy like every Monday at the Bitter End.
Really?
Yeah, he has this night every Monday.
Oh, amazing! Because he was saying, like, I heard him talking about something where he was saying, like, when I do an album, it's we write the song. I want to go out and play with that band, and then we'll go and record it live. So he uses his house.
I think a lot of those guys do that. Scott Henderson does the same thing. He writes the tunes. Then he takes the band out on the road, promoting the last record, and then they play a lot of the new ones. Yeah. And then once they feel very comfortable with those tunes, they go into the studio and record them again.
The last guy that I interviewed, Toby Carpenter, he's a jazz guitar player, he's a friend of mine, and he ended up with the number one jazz album on iTunes, and he still kind of doesn't know how it happened, but he said he does the same thing. So the idea being, like, you know, you need the time for the songs to form and to kind of come together, and for everybody to kind of
especially when it's improvisational based music.
Yeah, exactly.
You feel like you might take that tune somewhere else that you didn't think of when you were writing it on your own, right? And
of course.
Your bass player or your keyboard player comes up with a cool vamp in the middle of it, or whatever.
Yeah, happy accidents that happen when you actually do it. Like.
Whereas I think it's different. It's the opposite with like a rock band.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, you write the album, you record it,
Yeah.
and then you go out and tour it.
Yeah, of course.
And you might change a few things while on the road, but then the album's the album, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, even a rock band is generally, even metal bands, for instance, they're basically pop bands, but they're just choosing different soundscapes.
So you're playing the orchestration. You know, maybe the solo's a bit different, but then you're playing through composed music, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you went to LA and you auditioned with some bands.
So I went to LA. Slept in couches for almost a year, and I almost got a gig, and I didn't, and I just sort of ran out of options, and I sort of gave up, but I was just like, okay, it's time to go back home because this is not working out.
Yeah.
At the time, also, I was in LA sort of as a tourist, so I wasn't allowed to work.
Yeah.
So it was one of those really difficult circumstances because I didn't want to get in trouble. So I was allowed to be there for 6 months, and I was allowed to audition or whatever, you know, but until I maybe got a gig with a band that sorted out my visa, I couldn't just get a job or anything.
Yeah. So were you on like, because I was talking, me and my girlfriend were talking about this the other day, the idea of if we wanted to at some point go to America, did you have like a visa that had a set amount of time, and you were hoping that a band would sort out an extension to that, or maybe some sort of green card application?
Well, it's different depending on where you're from. I got if you're from Mexico, you don't have like visa waiver program,
right?
Because of the political problems, you know. There's a lot of people from Mexico wanting to move to the States, so you have to apply for a visa, even if you just want to go to Disneyland. Like, you have to apply for a visa, and you have to show the country that you're fine where you are, and that you have a job and all this stuff. And, I got visas when I was really young because my mom has family in the States, so we used to go to the States a lot.
Right.
So I didn't have a problem with that. But when you get a visa like that, you get a 10-year tourist visa. It just isn't like an ID. And then when you come to the country, they give you the I-90 form, which allows you I think for British people, you're allowed to stay for 3 months.
Okay.
For Mexican, I think it was 6 months.
Yeah.
And of course, you're not allowed to work. You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to apply for jobs either. But you know, if you're going to jams and an artist, with artists, it's different because you're not taking anybody's job. You have what they say is a outstanding ability or something.
Right.
So if an artist hires you, that means you're the only one that can do what you do.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a lot easier for an artist. Well, it's hard, but once somebody sponsors you, it's relatively easy to get a visa because it's a very specific type of job.
Right.
Whereas, you know, if you're an accountant, you can train a 17-year-old kid to do exactly the same job and the results are the same.
Yeah.
Whereas a musician, you have that uniqueness that you can't argue, well, this guy can do the same. No, he doesn't.
That makes sense because that would be because the idea that we didn't know anything about it, we were just saying, oh well, like and this is all just thought, you know, hypothetical, but like if we went over and we went to LA last year, and what if an audition had come up, would you have to show that you would be able to earn a certain amount of money and all this sort of stuff? But I guess it's more about,
well, what happens is the person who hires you basically sponsors you.
Right.
So that person is responsible for you.
Right. So if you fuck up, they're like, it's on them.
In a way, I guess. I mean, but
they're vouching for you.
But they vouch for you financially. So if you were out left in the street, they're responsible. Like as, but you wouldn't be because they're hiring you.
Yeah, of course.
So you know, your sponsor, and then there's the greatest visa to get as an artist is the O1.
Right.
Which is you can work with whoever you want, and you're basically allowed to do whatever you want, like work-wise.
Right.
There's another one that's called, like, I think the B2 or O2, which you can only work for the artist that's hiring you.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And you can't go and look for other work
so
on
you
your
can't
own.
like freelance. You're just gonna
But the O1 is like you are your own artist in your own right, so you can go and play with whoever you want. You can have your own band. You can, you know, and then you're not married to that one person that takes you everywhere. So that's the toughest one to get, because then you have to prove to them that in your own country you're somebody who is great and who does this and that, you know, like all these other things.
Yeah, and it's so like kind of wishy-washy, the world of music, in terms of proving something like that. It's very difficult unless you're kind of an established artist or something.
Yeah, well, so, you know, it's a fine line, because some people are really good at networking and they able to get all these social media articles and stuff, and you know, you'll meet people with O1s that are not necessarily amazing musicians, but they've work the system in a way that they can show to immigration. Well, I'm an artist, and I want to do this some, in your country or whatever. It's
all about that.
It's so I went back home, and then I stayed home for about a year, and I as soon as I got back home, I just wanted to leave right away. And it was a bit rough because it was like, didn't feel like a failure, but it was like, going back home and going back to the gigs that I supposedly wasn't gonna ever do again, because I started playing gigs since I was 15.
Yeah.
So then I kind of regrouped myself, and I was applying. I tried to go to Berkeley, and I got a partial tuition scholarship to attend, but it was still too much money.
Yeah.
So I couldn't. It was unaffordable. So I ended up moving. I moved to Vermont for about a year and a half because I was dating this girl, and she was moving there, so I moved there with her.
Yeah.
And then things didn't really work out, but I ended up spending 2 weeks in New York, and I just loved it. And that's around the time I found out the whole thing. I was going to Vermont, and then we were going to move to Boston together if I went to Berkeley.
Right,
but that didn't happen. Neither the relationship or Berkeley happened. So I ended up going to New York, and I found a school there called The Collective, which is mostly known as the Drummers Collective.
Right.
There's the people that used to do the DCI videos, like all those Dave Weckl instructional videos back in the day.
Right. Okay.
They have a school there, and it was mainly a drummer school. Then they started teaching bass as well, so it was bass and drum. And then they decided to expand for more rhythm sections, so keyboards, guitar. And I was not the first year that they were taking guitar players, but like the second or third year where they were taking guitar players. And I got a scholarship from them, and then I got a grant from the government in my state in Mexico to study. So fortunately, I didn't take a loan or anything, and that's where I settled and studied there.
Yeah. So how long were you How long were you in New York for in total?
I was in New York for 10 years.
Okay, and you studied. How long was the course that you were doing?
I did a course for about 2 years.
Right. Okay. And what was that like? So, like, I know
great.
a lot of guys who've been to music unis and stuff in the UK, and not to knock them, but a lot of them are kind of like, I don't know if I got that much out of it, more connections and stuff. And I think that is a problem with maybe music unis in this country. I didn't particularly go to a particularly good one. But what was that like? I feel like in New York that would be something that's a lot more serious.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about I have checked some schools here, and I was shocked, and I don't want to speak ill of any school, but I saw, I won't mention the name, but I went to one school just to check some info, and when I saw their curriculum, there was no playing.
Yeah.
It was just dissertation and all these like it was like going to an economics class.
Yeah.
In a way, And I was just like, but so what? How many hours do you get if just one-on-one tuition?
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, you only get like one a week or something like that.
It's crazy. Isn't
it was I could not believe it. It's like, this is a music program.
Yeah.
And it was almost like, no, it felt to me like, well, we're preparing you so you can, have your wedding band and your business and start up your business and that's it, and you're making a living off of it. And it's like, well, but that's not, that's not a music school really.
No.
And I don't know, like if I wouldn't pay that much money to go and learn, Superstitious at a music school. Not to say anything bad about Superstitious, but that's just the kind of songs that you just join a band. And you join a band, and then you don't pay for it. You get paid, and then you learn those songs, all the material for wedding bands or whatever. I was shocked that there was so much function repertoire that I was just like, why would I want to learn like all the small things by Blink-182 at a music university, like with a degree? Like it was just like, you just learn that at home, In
our final performances at the uni that I went to, it was like a centre. It's Huddersfield University, but it was a centre in Barnsley, which is a town in Yorkshire, a small town, and there was only like, it was the first year they'd run that course. There's 10 of us on it, and me and my good friend Chris Aspin were like really the only ones who took it seriously and like, really wanted to play. And this one group of guys, the other kind of is split into two bands for our performances, and in the end I only went 1 day a week for the performances because I set up a business at the time, my teaching business, and so we were like trying to push ourselves and trying to do some of the more out there Led Zeppelin stuff, or we did Bohemian Rhapsody and tried to sing all the bits and play all the parts and all that. and try and find songs like that. I mean, we didn't really know anything about fusion or anything interesting like that or jazz, but at least we were kind of trying to challenge ourselves a bit. The other band in their final performance played what's that Kaiser Chiefs song that was massive?
I wouldn't know, but I know that.
What is it now?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Watching the people get scary. That.
Oh yeah.
They did that for their final university performance.
Yeah, that's just and that's not to me criticizing that music, but those guys didn't go to uni.
No, exactly.
Those guys just got in a garage and wrote these tunes, and some of them are great tunes.
Yeah.
But you don't need to pay $7,000 a year to learn.
Yeah. At that point, ours was only $3,000 a year, I think. But
even like Foo Fighters, which is like one of my favorite bands. Like if I went to school, I wouldn't pick a Foo Fighters tune to be my final exam.
I learned Foo Fighters.
I bet Dave Grohl will tell you, do not pick my song to do your final exam. Like just go and meet your friends in a garage and make a band. Don't go to uni for that. So that's. But I've seen there's great schools here though, like the Royal Academy, and I mean, if I would recommend any young guy to study that wanted to study music seriously, I'd say go to like Trinity, Royal Academy, or what's the other one?
BIM.
There's another university. It's
ACM?
more like they're more conservatoire.
Oh right.
There's is it the one that's also acting?
Is it is it maybe the Brit School, or are you talking about LIPA, the one? In
No. It's Royal Academy, and I know Trinity has a great program, and then there's this other one that has like a really good acting program and jazz program.
Right.
And and they only take like 7 students or something. They take maybe they take 1 or 2 for each instrument.
I mean, you're gonna have to be maybe a virtuoso by the time you.
Well, you kind of have to, like I think by the time you audition for those schools,
you
have to be sort of on top of it.
Yeah, I think the difference that you're saying in the attitude is it's kind of it's. I definitely know this from the north of England, but the British attitude in general is, let's find what's reasonable and let's just aim for that and make sure everybody knows the basics and we can run a band and do write a dissertation and all this.
And I guess some schools want to play it safe because if you're a parent and saying, well, I'm going to spend all this money, the school wants to tell you, well, we guarantee when your son comes out he'll be in a function band or something making some money. And and sadly the state of the industry is in a place where you can be making more money doing functions than playing for pop artists. This. Some of these gigs that I haven't had a pop gig in England, but I've heard some of the rates, and I'm just like, that's crazy.
Wow.
It's less than half of what you make for doing a Sunday wedding or whatever.
I was talking to my girlfriend the other day because there's something that I might be able to get involved with coming up, and just trying to figure out, like, you really have to seriously consider, especially if it's a long amount of time. Do I want to be out of town that much when I can do more in town?
And the other issue is that there's no contract now. I've never signed a contract, and I've had a bunch of touring gigs and never given a contract. And you wonder why? It was because if they want to get rid of you, they don't want to have the responsibility of maybe getting a lawsuit or whatever. So they just hire you as an independent contractor kind of thing.
Yeah, zero hour thing. Yeah, there's a couple of people, I won't say any names, but there's a couple of people I've kind of asked for more money, and the people have said yes, and then like the next month it's like, there's new MD, there's a new band. It's brutal. You have to be careful in that sense. So going back to the school, the cool thing about the school where I was at is there was hands-on playing every day, all the time. And if you weren't playing, you were in a. We used to have a reason class, so we learned reason instead of Pro Tools. We had a reason class, and if you weren't playing, you were either doing harmony lesson or listening, ear training and stuff like that. It would have been nice if we had one business class because we all came out like, okay, now how do I make money doing this? So that is a thing that's cool here, that they do that they sort of prepare you, and that you also the collective was a professional school, so it wasn't they didn't offer a degree. Right.
It was a professional diploma, so I can get a degree if I want. And transfer my credits from that school. If I chose to go to school here and wanted to get a degree, I can do that and get my credits transferred. But I'm sure at Berkeley you definitely get a business music class. It's a more hands-on.
Of course.
but the cool thing the cool funky thing about that school is they just prepped you to play, and the ensemble classes that you had, the format was most schools in your ensemble you playing with other students, and that's your ensemble. In this school you're playing with professional musicians, so either the teacher's playing with you on your ensemble. So in my guitar ensemble I had Kim Plainfield, who passed away last year, but one of the most amazing drummers. He was teaching at Berkeley. He played with Tanya Maria for a while. He played with the Pointer Sisters. That was my drummer for my ensemble.
Oh, wow.
And like Lincoln Goins was my bass player for my ensemble, or you know, or Frank Gravis, who is another great bass player. Like those were the guys I was playing with.
Yeah.
So the hands-on experience, you get your ass kicked like so badly, but that's what you want.
Oh,
you know, and that was the cool thing about that school, that we were playing with guys that probably would never play a gig with you otherwise for a long time, you know? So that was really cool because
it shows you the way the level is as well.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh right, okay. By
the time, like I remember for my final exams, I was playing like some Virgil Donati tunes and some Weather Report tunes and some stuff like Wayne Krantz tunes.
Yeah.
You know, so with players that were at that level, you know.
Yeah.
So that was the coolest thing about that school. That really was hands-on, real world kind of situation, real world situation playing.
Yeah.
And they were merciless in a good way, you know. They just.
And good to get out of the way early, because like if you like, I have the opposite experience of playing kind of with my mates almost at when I was growing up and at uni, and never having a really exposure to that level of playing. And then when you do encounter it, like when I first came down to London and see even just people at jam nights and stuff, and the group of people that we all know, it's
it can be quite
You
intimidating.
go like, wow, like that. Whoa, I have to step up here. Whereas if you've got that out the way early, and you got right, I need to sort some shit out and learn and figure. And
it's sort of like rude awakening, but you're in school, so you're still in a safe environment. You know, you're not going home saying, "Well, that's it." Yeah. Like you just going home and prepping for the next day. You'll encounter those people again,
and that's going to motivate you.
So it's one of those things where the kids that weren't built up for it, you see them drop out, you know, within 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, because they're just like, that's not for me.
Too much.
But then, like the people who really were in it, you know, and then fortunately, after I finished the school, because there was not a lot of guitar students, it's mainly known as a drummer's bass player school, I got hired by the school to play ensembles, and I was at the beginning. I basically kept studying there by playing the ensembles and getting credit to continue taking lessons. So I continued after I graduated. I continued to take private lessons there. Right. So, but in exchange
for doing the
ensemble playing. So I would play ensembles still in like the advanced class, which I still needed it anyway. Yeah. And instead of getting paid money, I got paid in credit. Right. Twice the rate. Right. It was one of those like, we'll pay you twice the rate in credit. Yeah. So I took some lessons with Wayne Krantz. I took some lessons with Oz Noy, like, you know, because they would call us teachers. That's the other thing the school had. It had artist in residence teachers. Right. So they had Wayne Krantz sometimes teaching there, or Oz, or like Alex Skolnick was teaching there. Yeah. And those were more expensive, but because I was getting all this credit, it was great, because I was just like, well, I'll just take all these lessons. So I continued to work in that school, and then eventually I got hired to play mainly the like progressive rock ensembles and stuff. So the school became like a home for me for those 10 years. I was there probably once a week all the time whenever I was in town.
That sounds like a really good idea, actually, because I suppose it could. The thing about New York is it's kind of such a small space with so many people that I suppose you've got so much music and so many amazing artists that are playing like regular nights. Like even in London, where there's a great scene, like Pino Palladino isn't just resident in down the road in such and such, and so you can't with a London school, maybe that's not it's not possible, but that sounds like the perfect setup to have those players coming in, and you start to think, oh, I'm starting to be able to hang with these guys, and Osnoy comes in and just oh wow. No, I need to figure some shit out. So what I want to ask you then, get to this, is you ended up playing for Enrique Iglesias, no?
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
That happened. I met his old MD a while back in a bar, just just drinking, and we became friends. But I didn't know this. I met him, and I knew that he was the MD, and I knew the keyboard player. I knew some of the people in that band, and at one point, I got called for an audition. In like 2011, I think, and then I went to audition, and I was like, "Where's Tony?" And I found out basically Tony was gone from that gig. So I was like, "Oh wow!" Like, and so then I saw Tony again, and I was like, "Yeah, I just auditioned for the gig," and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's fine, no worries." And so I became sort of friends with him. Eventually, I didn't get the gig. In 2011, somebody else got it.
That was that was the audition for Enrique Iglesias.
Yeah, that was the audition. So I auditioned for him, and they ended up going for someone else, who just left. Who ended up staying in the band for about 8 years, and I think he just left. He plays with LP now.
Right.
And that was it. And then I became friends with, but they're the whole band, they're all friends with each other. So I became really close with Tony Bruno, which he was Enrique's MD, and he was also Rihanna's MD. He's the guy that put the Rihanna band when Nuno Bettencourt was in the
I was going to say,
he's the one that put that band.
Wow.
Eventually, when Rihanna moved on to Jay-Z's management, I think they sort of changed the whole band. I think Nuno stayed, but my friend moved on.
Yeah.
And then I kept playing and whatever, and then I got a call. I started working with Tony for a long time. And then in 2015, right before I moved here, Emmett, the old guitar player, told me he was leaving, and he was like, "Do you want to audition for it again?" I said, "Well, I didn't get it last time." I was like, he's like, "Well, they asked me to recommend someone, and you're the only one I'm recommending. So either they will take you or they won't. But that's it. Like I'll just recommend you." So yeah, it was one of those, and they flew me to Chicago to just see the show. So I saw the show. I met him. He was just like, "Do you want to do this thing?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then for 2 weeks, I went to Emmett's house and just learned all the material. And then he was like, "This gig works like that. Like, you'll come, you'll have sound check. Basically, will be your rehearsal.
Yeah.
You'll do one, maybe half a set. Maybe you'll do the encore, and then either they'll call you again, or they won't. They don't like, they don't."
Right. Yeah.
I was like, okay. So then after that, I spoke to management, and then they
keep telling me. I'm just gonna slow that camera.
Yeah. Oh, do I keep talking?
Yeah.
So after that, it was one of those. I spoke to management. We spoke like, if you get the gig, this is the rate. This is blah blah blah, and so we all came in agreement, and then they flew me to Puerto Rico. It was like there was two gigs in Puerto Rico and one gig in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And they were quite nice about it because I was already on a salary then.
Right. Okay.
But Emmett was still coming, and that was his last gigs.
Right. Okay.
So they were like, "You might play the second gig in Puerto Rico."
Right. Okay. So you're kind of standing like.
Yeah, I was just standing in. With everything ready, but of course, Enrique was like, "Well, if Emmett's here," like, so I didn't play at all.
Right.
I was like there the whole weekend, just like I'm ready. And then in Hawaii, at one point, at the very last song, that Bailando song, it was a private party, so it was a bit more relaxed. Yeah. And it was like, "No, you're not playing." And I was like, "Well, I guess I'm not getting this gig." Like, I did the sound check as a rehearsal.
Right.
And then Emmett just called me and said, just come and play. And then in the middle of the song, like, we switched guitars, and Enrique at one point just looked back and he was like, "Oh, cool, yeah." And then after that, they called me to do one gig in Guatemala, and that was it. It was like, "All right, so we'll keep calling you."
Amazing.
And and then I did it for like 10 months.
Yeah.
And then
that sounds like a mad gig. I mean, he's, from what I've heard, he's got there's a notorious party scene that followed him around and stuff. I've heard from different sources, but were you kind of is the band separate to him when you're traveling and stuff like that, or
they all travel together? My experience was that I think back before like 2011 or something, he used to hang more with the band. I think after a lot of the band changed, I don't know, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I think they sort of switched their MO a little bit.
Yeah,
where,
yeah.
And maybe it's because, I guess at one point in your life, in your career, you have enough friends, you don't need more, and if you have people working for you, you don't want to mix that. So
that makes sense.
So he doesn't really hang out with the, like, everybody hangs out, but no, it's not like, he takes you out to dinner or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, of course. Yeah,
but he's a nice guy. I mean, the entire time, I never spoke to him that much, but the entire time that we were there, he was cool. He was just,
if I was the manager, I think I'd probably try and keep the band separate.
Yeah, and I think the manager's been with him for a long time, and again, it's not like they just put a wall in front of you and they say stay away. No, it's not like that.
Yeah.
But it's not like at the end of the gig, like you're, having. But I mean, it depends. I guess it depends on him. Like the last gig I did with him, I was depping. I don't play with him anymore, but every now and then they'll call me if somebody's not.
Yeah.
Doing it, can't make it.
He's still in the pool.
So I did a gig with him in July, and he invited us out to a club.
Oh, awesome!
So we went out to a club.
So is he still working regularly?
Oh yeah. They're just in Prague. 2 sold out shows.
Wow.
They just released a new song.
Yeah.
They are coming to the UK in October. They're doing like O2 arenas.
Amazing.
Ireland.
Yeah. Because it was crazy
London.
huge. In this country, it was crazy huge at one point, and then you
Yeah.
didn't hear anything about him. But those people don't stop working. They still.
I mean, I think he could tour for the rest of his life without releasing a song.
Of course, yeah.
Because he's kind of like one of those. They have so many classic tunes that they still have enough pull that they don't have to release any material. He still releases material, but he could tour singing "Hero" on every show.
Yeah, I got asked for that on a solo acoustic show the other day.
Yeah,
Really, that song still.
Yeah, and so, and he's still, and I guess he's always shifting like whatever's hot at the moment, because he started when he was famous when he was like 18, I think, in Mexico. He was like a ballad guy. He was singing these kind of romantic, really cool ballads.
Yeah.
That's how he was known for. And then when he went to the English market, it was more party thing, like that song "Escape."
Yeah.
And then now he's doing more like that modern reggaeton thing.
Right. Okay.
Really, a lot of the songs are like the reggaeton tunes, and he's doing all these collabs with reggaeton artists.
Right.
So I think he's always just moving in with what's hot. You know?
Of course, Well, I think you've got to if you're going to be that sort of pop star. I imagine he still doesn't look that old. I suppose he's
he looks great.
Good looking.
He looks great. So. I was with I don't know if you read about how he got his hand all messed up with a drone.
His hand?
He grabbed a drone
wow.
on a show in Tijuana.
And what did he do to him?
Just broke. He had destroyed his hand completely.
It looks so flimsy, but imagine
it's the propellers. Yeah, he grabbed the drone the wrong way, and it just they had blood on my guitar and stuff. But he finished the show. They just wrapped him up. And he finished the show. I couldn't believe it because he was just like, I can't feel my hand.
That's pros.
Yeah. But that's how I got that gig, just from knowing people in New York.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Every gig that I've ever got is come through socially. Hanging out with people and stuff.
Because even when I did the Kanan gig, because I did the Kanan gig for a while, that was through Tony,
right?
Who I met at a bar.
The Kanan gig, what's that? Sorry.
Kanan is the Somalian rapper who did the Waving Flag song in 2010.
Right. Okay.
Remember?
How's it go?
Is when I get older, I will be stronger.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
So actually, Andy Cortez had that gig.
Really?
That's how I know. And Andy was like my introduction to the London scene.
Right. Yeah.
Nice way to be introduced to the London scene.
What year did you turn up?
I moved here in 2015.
Right, so that's about the same time as me, maybe just after me, because I think I remember you turning up. Was it quite soon after you turned up that you brought your mum and dad to Ronnie's? Because I don't think I remember.
It was my mom and my brothers.
Right, okay.
That was on my wedding, right before my wedding. So that was in February 2016.
Right, so that's after you've not been there very long. Because I remember, I'd just started going on the jam scene, and I'd been here about 9 months.
Yeah.
Got a bit I don't know anybody, I don't know where the jams are, I'm not meeting any musicians.
We met 100 Water. That's the first time we met.
Yeah.
On a Tuesday jam.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
You were with somebody I knew, and then we talked about the BB preamp.
That's right, yeah.
That was the first time we met.
Because that was Patrick Allen's night. That's the same kind of setup as the Churros
the Monday,
thing.
Yeah.
I think I might have seen you at Churros a couple of times, and I got to talk to you.
But the first time we met was then. Yeah, so I met Andy through... Andy had that gig with Kanan, and he did the whole World Cup thing. He traveled doing that. And then in 2012, I think Andy just left the band, and he moved back, because he was in New York a lot.
Right, was he? Okay.
Yeah, because that's how he got that gig, and he was sort of half in New York and traveling with the artists.
I interviewed him for an hour, and he's done so much stuff that I we
Yeah.
didn't even get to that.
So Andy left that gig, and then but the keyboard player and the like Kanan's hype man were still in the band. So they told me about Andy, and they were like, "Oh, it's really funny. You know, our old guitar player is also Latino, and I used to wear Converse all the time. They're like, you also wear Converse, like it's funny, like and then Andy was a sweetheart. He saw some video of us playing on a David Letterman show, and he sent me a message, and he was just like, "Hey, by the way, you know, you guys sound great. This is I'm the old guitar player."
Oh wow!
And I was like, "Oh, that's so sweet, you know, cool." And then I started dating a British girl. That's how I ended up moving here, and I was coming to London a lot. So then through Andy, I started coming and meeting some people, and then I also have heard of Patrick, because Patrick spent time in New York.
Yeah.
And I jam. Sometimes I would jam with him, like Pete Big, and like whenever I come to London, and he was playing with Patrick at the time, and that was my introduction to the.
Oh wow!
To the London.
That's awesome. It's I mean, Andy's killing it at the moment. He's on the road with James.
Yeah,
isn't he? So he's just done. That guy's just done so much, and he is a total sweetheart. Like,
he was a prodigy kid, no? Like I think
really.
I think since he was like 12, he was playing these like jam nights, and he was killing it already.
Right.
Like, and I think he might have gotten signed when he was really young, like as more of a blues player or something like that.
That makes sense. Yeah, because he's had the band Cortez as well. But we went down to watch his thing at 6060 Sounds, which is the new guitar shop, and he did the blues.
Nice.
Blues gig.
He's amazing.
He's blue. Yeah, I mean it was a lot of blues.
He's like a proper. Good. Yeah, proper player. For that.
And it just sticks to that, and it's like. I can play on a blues jam and stuff like that, and I can play some blues, but there's certain things that guys who are just all about the blues can do that you're like, actually I can't make it that I can't make that sound.
I think he's really he's serious. Like he could
specialist.
Be a blues guy. Yeah, like I play blues, but I'm not like that. Like Tom Hill as well. He can play blues. Like
Tom got up and jammed. They got up and jammed together, and it was just it was ridiculous. It's the vibrato, not overcrowding too many licks, and
there's a vocabulary that you need to study.
Yeah, whereas I play blues and I go around the progression once or twice, and I'm like, I've done everything kind of now, and like back to pentatonics. But the thing is, they seem to like not even do anything that different all the time, but it's always evolving and it's always sound. They just.
Well, it's a lot of this like motif playing, you know. So you sort of milk this idea, develop everything else around that one little phrase. Yeah. Which is Scott Henderson he's got a couple of videos that are really cool.
Yeah.
About motif development.
Okay.
And he's a funny guy when he if I got a DVD if you want to borrow it sometime.
Yeah, man. Check
really, he's got this whole concept of developing an idea like words, but so he makes this really funny stuff that's like, so you play this phrase like Jimmy's making love to his girlfriend, and then he plays this lick. He's like, well, now Jimmy's really making love to his girlfriend. And he milks that idea of just like little 3-note 4-note little small kind of words, and then develop into something else, which is my favorite thing really when I listen to music to hear just like motif development through improvisation is
for sure
so much. To me, it's just got so much more depth than throwing like 16 notes on for a minute and a half.
And then do you know what, when I first moved to London, I've seen these players that were putting in all these amazing acrobatic stuff and these fusion licks I couldn't do, and I was obsessed with that for ages, and like I need to get that under my belt. And then you do come back to, actually I don't need to be playing those all the time, and this motif development that you're talking about, space and all that sort of thing. And then when you watch like Andy and Tom play the blues and stuff, you're like and it's a good reminder to have as to you don't have to,
and that doesn't mean that
say everything, and
burning is great as well, but like it's how you do it, like it's just I mean in the end you have to know who you are really, to It's okay. Is this me or is this not me? And you know, but the lick playing thing can get old quick.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And sometimes, you know, you learn this one lick and then you don't know where to put it.
Yeah. And then when you put it in, it just sounds like, crowbar.
There's Alan Holsworth used to say that, like, if he developed anything, it would take him about a year before that seeped into his subconscious.
I think that's
right. And it just came out.
Yeah.
Like, as part of his vocabulary.
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of like, it's very similar to words. You know, if you learn a new fancy word,
you stay all the time.
And you're like, I can't wait to use that word. You sound like a bellend, you know, because it's not part of you. But if all of a sudden, it becomes part of you. Like if I would have said bellend the first week I moved here, people would have been like, who's this guy? He just moved here and he's already saying bellend. But now I say it because a lot of my friends say it, right?
You know how to use it.
And it's like, oh, cool. Like, but I didn't, like, right now it just came out. I wasn't, you know, like, you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing, like, it's like using a new word just because everybody's using it and it's cool. You can tell you're trying. Yeah. Whereas at one point it just comes out, you know, and it's the same with even like just even accent. Like now I have a funny way of speaking because I sometimes will say I can't do this, and I would never say that. I would say I can't do, you know, like whatever. But now because I'm living in London, it's kind of
seeping in.
But it's like 2 years later, and I don't have a British accent or anything, but just the intonation is just it comes in, and I think musically is the same thing. You know, if you can't wait to put that statement out, you're not ready because it really has to come from you becoming part of you.
I think that's right. I think so what happens a lot is you end up shedding at home, but that's not right either. You shed it and you're playing these licks at home over like jam tracks and stuff forever. What you really need to do is play it with the live band. But the thing is, the jam nights, this is a problem with the jam nights around here in London, or some of them, the ones that I know, is that when you get up, you're kind of on show. It's a kind of almost like a bit of a showcase. Like, so you don't, and if you get a sort of like a guitar solo at some of the jam nights, like it might be 32 bars or 16 bars, which is not really that much to try out all of your ideas, sort of thing. How does that compare to the jam nights that are in, for instance, New York or LA? Is it because if you want to try and do something like that, you want to be playing solos all night as part of a band that's jamming and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And that's not really
I don't know. I think if you go to a jam night, you sort of have to see who you're playing with. You just have fun.
Yeah.
Because I think whatever comes from that, it's more, I don't know. I'm just like, I know there's people who go to jam night and they want to throw all their licks because they want to show how good they are, and they maybe think that they're going to get a gig from that. But I don't think that's the case.
No, it doesn't happen.
I cannot imagine somebody going and seeing a guy in a jam night get up on stage and throw all their things, and you being like, oh my God, we got to hire this guy. No way. No way. Yeah. I think you just have to get up there and be like, well, what are we playing? And really listen to others instead of just waiting for your turn to play. I think that's the problem, but it's not the jam night's problem. I think it's our problem as musicians.
Seeing it in the right way.
We want to, you know, we can't wait to throw this hip stuff out.
But what I think on the other side of it is like, you want to, I mean, maybe you just have to figure out some mates that you can get in a room with and do it and kind of this.
I think that's more the case. Yeah,
where you want to work out ideas. Like there's a gig that I did. It's just a wedding gig, but they're so great, and the keyboard player is the singer, so he's great, but he's not like muso-y thing. He pads and stuff like that, and he like every song he's looking at me for a solo. And then when I finish that gig, if I do a gig the next day, I'm
burned out.
I'm the best player. No, I'm the best player ever because I've had
that's cool.
all gig to try everything out and try all these ideas. Way different to just jamming at home on some jam tracks.
Yeah, well, I think playing with people is just the most important thing.
Yeah.
You know, the one of the problems is that we live in a city where, you know, it's who's got space where they can play live in their house? Nobody. Yeah. So it's not, you know, and also the expenses that come with living in this town, you don't have time sometimes.
Yeah.
And a lot of the gigs I've noticed, a lot of the gigs here, they don't want you to experiment. Like if you're doing a covers gig, they don't like it if you're playing it a little different. Like they
some
want you to
wacky
play like on the
sounds or
record
anything.
and stuff. And then this is not, it's a different thing, I guess. And sometimes it's not up to the musicians. It's the establishment that wants you to play like, you know, the function stuff. And like, I think the difference, for instance, in New York, in some clubs, not all of them, in some clubs, the band just plays however they want.
Yeah.
And they'll play like, which is, you know, Patrick Night sometimes has a little bit of that.
Oh, yeah.
Where they'll play one song and they sort of put like 3 songs in it.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that's what's really cool. Like when, that obviously not rearrange everything all the time, but if you get a chance to just throw in some stuff, because people want to be excited.
Yeah.
But I notice in some places or some gigs I've done here, like the band's an afterthought. It's just there because it looks good and it's cool and it looks good.
You've got to have
but
a band.
They don't want what comes with a band. They want the sound to be exactly the same volume as from the speakers in the bar, and it's like that's physically impossible. You have a drummer who's kicking and hitting shit.
Yeah.
You have a guitar player that's pushing air through an amp. How can you say, well, we want it like you need to turn down?
Yeah.
And it's like, I get it. We don't want to play super loud, but at the same time, there is live, like human beings who are alive in that room, creating an atmosphere.
Yeah, there's no one mastering
you
this.
can't expect them to sound like these Bose speakers.
Yeah,
and they do that. I just did a gig in a lobby place that we started playing. I could hear my guitar more from where I was playing than from the speakers. And I was just like, why do you have live music? Why do you even bother? Just don't. And the sound guy was nice. He was just like, well, you know, it's just a job, you know, just take the money. And I'm like, but I don't want to just take the money. Because if I wanted to take the money, I would get a job.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I would get paid better and I would get benefits. And so it's not just the money. I want to be able to play and have people enjoy it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And if you're just sort of like a lampshade, people of course are not going to notice, you know.
That's true. Yeah,
and I think sometimes that's the mistake in some places here, that you're looked as an afterthought. You're like a lampshade. You're like a nice lampshade.
Yeah.
That fits and looks well, but they don't want what comes with it.
Wallpaper music, they call it.
Yeah. And so it's a bit frustrating in that sense.
Yeah, I think singers feel that a lot. When I play
Absolutely.
with, especially when I do acoustic duos, like a lot of times, if you just see, I can get on board with just being background music on an acoustic duo-y thing, because, you know, I might have the loop pedal and try some solos out, and nobody's paying that much attention, so you get to try a few things. You can try some songs that maybe you haven't done before. But singers really I think it's extra difficult for singers when they feel like nobody's watching them and paying attention.
Yeah,
and because it's such a personal thing as well, you know, and you can. Like, why am I doing this if nobody cares, sort of thing. What I wanted to get on to is you've got the new band. You've got your band with called Romancers.
Yes.
And you've also been playing for, what's the artist you've been around?
Tony Momrelle.
Tony Momrelle.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Tony first.
Yeah.
What's the gig and what's been happening with that? What have you been doing with that? Because you've been in Russia and all sorts of places.
Yeah. Well, Tony is, if I'm sure most people know, he's probably one of the best singers in Europe.
Right.
Soul and R&B kind of stuff. He's mostly known from playing with Incognito.
Right. Okay.
Singing for Incognito.
Yeah.
He did that for maybe like 15 years. Sometimes he's still part of the family. Like he'll still do some gigs, but he's pushing his own career now.
Yeah.
And he also did been singing with Sade for a long time, and he's done all sorts of great work, you know, over the years. He started his own, he's always done the solo thing, but he started pushing it more now. And he, Luca Faraone was the guitar player for that.
Right.
And then
Luca, he's been on Chiro as well. He's a monster guy.
He's
I know that guy.
Perfect pitch, like the sickest, like
scared the shit out of me watching that guy.
Great player, and young guy too, fantastic. So Luca started calling me to Dep for him for some stuff. I met him through Gareth Brown, like playing at Capirinha, this place that is closed now. It was like a late night jam thing where like Rick James used to play there, and Francesco Mendolia and those guys. So Luca called me to Dep for him, and then at one point, Luca and I auditioned for Craig David, and obviously Luca got the gig. And when he did, I was asked to Dep for Tony, but then as they realized that Luca was probably going to be really busy, Tony was like, well, I think I'll just stick with you now. Because Luca's doing a lot of stuff now, not just with Craig, but I think he's really busy now playing with a lot of artists. So it became like I don't think he could do the gig as much.
Yeah.
So
it's the saving grace of you see some of these incredible players like him and yourself and all the people that I've seen at the Jam Nights London, but luckily there's enough gigs that you can't do all the gigs.
right, yeah. So I just I got along really well with Tony, and then he, he's been very gracious and trusting, and I've been playing with him now for a year and a half.
Yeah. And so it's like a soul vibe. Do you think is it kind of like a more modern R&B or?
Yeah.
More...
Like Ben Jones produces a lot of his stuff.
Right. Okay. Excellent.
Which is kind of, it's great to be playing to some of Ben's ideas. And
of course. Yeah.
He's such a great musician. Never met him, but it's fantastic. So yeah, it's in the vein of like Stevie Wonder and that kind of stuff, like really kind of beautiful.
Right.
So it's modern, but it still has that kind of vintage feel. He's so I've been playing with him for a while now, and does a lot of really cool festivals, and it's been great because he does a lot of these. He's borderline on the jazz scene as well. So we do festivals where we did St. Petersburg, and I was hanging out with like Herbie Hancock at a dinner, and I couldn't believe it because I'm not at all at that level of those guys, and being in a room where you're sharing the stage, like we played in Serbia, and Mike Stern was playing after us.
Right.
So Mike came to our sound check, and I knew Mike from New York, so he was like, "Oh, it's so great to see you, man! Like doing your thing." And he stayed for a sound check, was telling us like, "Oh, do this, do that," and saw us play. Like he was, it's very like a dream come true when you're playing and you seeing like some of your heroes just like on the side of the stage. And you're just begging that you're not fucking up.
It's always the thing, and you always feel like you're under a microscope.
And we did the Java Jazz Fest, and like Jonathan Kreisberg was there, and all these other people. So it's really, really cool in that sense that I've gotten to sort of get a little bit of a taste of that world, even though I'm not a jazz player. I'm not like a player like those guys, but sharing the same kind of stages and and vibe with those players is amazing. And I get to see a lot of my New York friends, because I made friends with a lot of the New York jazz scene players, even though I wasn't really playing with them, but just became friends with a lot of those guys. So I'll see those guys at some festivals, and they're like, "Dude, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm playing with the soul artists."
Yeah, I bet all the people on your course are on some sort of circuit like that, because as you said, you weeded out all the people who didn't want to meet, who didn't want to put the work in to kind of stick to the level, and then those guys are going to be working and picked up by the best MDs. And
also because I stayed at the school for a long time, I became sort of part of the school. I've seen so many students come in and out. Of
course,
Like there was this guy Adriano Silva, who was a drummer from Portugal, who moved here for a little while.
Right. Okay.
And he's incredible. He played with Tony for a bit.
Yeah.
Moved back to Portugal, and I knew him from New York. That kind of thing. Where it's been that's been a really nice experience. The time spent in New York has always been beneficial, even after leaving.
Yeah, so you're always going to meet those people everywhere.
Yeah.
So tell us about Romances as well. This is a band you started off with some London musicians.
Yeah.
It's original material.
Yeah. It's more of like an alternative rock.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. Jesse's voice sounds incredible.
Yeah. Well, that band came out from. I started doing this Sunday night called Rock the Boat at the Silver Bullet before they closed down.
Right.
And it was a Sunday night, not jam. It was like a rock night that the house band, prep a bunch of tunes, like classic kind of grunge and rock tunes, like going from Zeppelin to Fleetwood Mac to Rage Against the Machine to that kind of like very wide open Red Hot Chili Peppers, or just some cool tunes to have fun with.
Yeah.
And then during the night, because it would be a long night, it would be like from 10:30 till 2. They would have people sit in and not a jam, like an open jam, but if somebody knew somebody, it'd be like, "Oh, what do you want to play tonight?" Or that kind of thing. So that's kind of, I joined that from meeting somebody that recommended me to that, and Luigi, who plays bass with John Shaw Taylor, he was the guy kind of running it.
Yeah.
And I met Jesse and Ashby there. And those guys are from Reading. They had a band called The Quotes that had kind of run its course, and they were looking to start a new band. And they were looking for drummers, and at first, I don't even think they were looking for a second guitarist. They were just looking for. They asked me if I knew some drummers, and I recommended, I think CJ and a couple of other guys. They ended up going with Alex Marquisone, who's he plays a lot of West End stuff.
Right. Okay.
Great drummer. And then I think at one of those Sunday nights, I told Jesse like, "Hey man, if you ever want to get together and do some writing, like, or I think I was telling Jesse because I sing as well. I was like, "Hey man, do you want to give me some tips on singing?" And he was like, "Yeah, if you give me some tips on guitar playing, that'd be great."
Yeah.
Because Jesse plays the guitar as well. And we still haven't done that. But from there, the idea came up. And then he called me one time and he was like, "Hey, man, we just looking to start this new band. If you want to come and do have a little jam at the studio." And, I came into the room with them and I brought in all this music that they brought on a bunch of music they've written that was kind of unfinished. And so then that was really cool. And I brought in a bunch of music that I'd written ages ago that I thought was never going to see the light of day, and it's sort of got this new life, and then we started obviously writing together, and that worked out really well. We have this bass player who lives in Sweden, Sufjan, and we just for a whole year we were just writing and rehearsing, and trying to make a plan, and then eventually we sort of launched the band publicly or whatever in September, and we recorded these 3 really cool videos at Visconti Studios.
Yeah, they're amazing. Those. It's when I saw them, I was like, "Ooh, wow."
Yeah, we were lucky. Our drummer, we sort of joined forces because we've all worked for years now, in whether it's tourings or side band jobs and stuff. So we kind of realized between all 4 of us, I'm sure we know some people that we can get like some really good quality stuff without spending so much money.
Yeah, that's always the trick.
Yeah, so we've been really lucky that we've had support from a lot of really cool people to do that. So we recorded those at Visconti Studio. I knew Mark Platti, who was Bowie's MD back in the 90s in New York, and I approached him to mix our stuff, and he's been great, mixing our stuff. And now we have 7 more songs that we still haven't released. We're releasing one of them soon, with a video that we shot in Sweden with the director of the Guter Dammerung band that Jesse's also part of. This guy that does videos for Iggy Pop and
oh wow, yeah.
So we did this video in Sweden, really really cool. This is coming out soon.
Yeah.
And now we finally announced that we're playing Isle of Wight Festival. Which
is
great
that's
news.
Amazing. That's
yeah.
So
I didn't know if I was going to be able to tell you that when I knew I was coming, but then that cat's out of the bag. So
yeah, great. Yeah, you're on the poster and everything.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
Jesse knows John Giddings from. So Jesse's part of this other project called Guter Dammerung, which is a sort of like a crazy movie that's in black and white. That like Iggy Pop's in it, and Slash is in it, and Josh Homme is in it, and the guy from. That's all the Queens of the Stone Age crew and Lemmy's in it. And so it's this movie that has a band in the back, and basically the band is Iggy Pop's band, and Jesse's the frontman.
Oh wow!
And while the movie's playing, these guys are performing live all these hits, like some songs from Filter, some Deftones songs, some like classic tunes. And while the movie's playing in the back, it looks incredible. The band's playing live. And John Giddings is the agent for that project, I think.
Right.
Who is the owner of Isle of Wight. So Jesse knew him, and we've been sort of flirting with. He owns Solo Agency, so we've been sort of flirting with them, like trying to, we're still looking for an agent, manager, and they came to see us play, and they really liked it, and then they decided to take us on. We're not with Solo, but to take us on for the festival. Maybe, wink.
And I looked at your Instagram as well, and you've got like 12,000 followers and stuff like that. I was like, for a band that's hardly doing anything.
That's been really good. We've had help with some Instagram guys. It's not like automated stuff, but we've had help with a guy that helps us a lot with, reaching out organically to fans.
Yeah.
So I don't know how he does it, but it's really cool because he reaches out to people who are into music. So from all those fans, because sometimes you hook up with the wrong Instagram person, and then you have 50,000 fans in India who are like not people, and you're like, oh, I got this account that's got all these fans and nobody, So we were very worried about like what to do, like how to reach out for an audience without without paying for it, and then all of a sudden knowing like, well, this is fake.
Yeah. I'll have to talk to you about maybe trying to get his contact because I've been trying to figure out how to grow the Instagram for this and my Instagram, and it's just it's the dark arts. It's like mastering. Nobody really knows how it's done.
YouTube is another one.
Yeah,
like
ridiculous.
How do you get views on YouTube? That's
get famous people.
That's
but even then, that's an incredible amount of achievement, and it's obviously from all your expertise and your links in the industry. But for you to be kind of on the Isle of Wight festival is that's a great. That's not bad for the first kind of year or whatever it is.
We're really excited, and that's also, I think, because of the place where we're at in our lives, we're kind of like, this one has to happen.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not that we're old or anything, but it's just one of those. We're like, okay, we need to make,
Yeah.
So we're really putting a lot of effort into it, and without sounding arrogant or anything, I think the music's. We believe in the music. We think the music's really good.
Yeah.
In the genre that it is, it's got something to say, and I think that's one of the important things. If you think you have something to say, well then. Manage a way to sort of bring it out, bring out who you are and displace it in a form of art or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's so difficult to do, but it's so important because all this session playing and all this touring and playing for other people, that's you can forget. It's very easy to forget about your own creativity, and this must be a really good outlet for someone.
Yeah, I made a conscious decision when I was moving to London that I really wanted to. Of course, I'll take a job when the job comes, and of course that's I have to make a living.
Yeah.
But I really made a conscious decision that I wanted to play music that mattered to me. Even if it's in a wedding band, like the people I'm playing with, that there's something that's happening there.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I mean, for some people might be different, but for me, I have to play. If I don't play, when I'm not busy, I'm the worst person to be around because I'm just a total downer. And I've realized that what it really is the playing. When I get to play, and even if on a night like you get 2 songs where you really feel like you're got on a vibe, that makes my week. Not just my day, my week. It's almost like it must be some sort of oxytocin or something, a hormone that you probably get. Because it is like a physical effect.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than walking off a stage and thinking like, I didn't really do it tonight. And then on the other side of it, when you come off and you're like, oh, dude, that was sweet. That everything fitted. I was in the pocket. It's a great feeling. My missus is bored shitless about hearing about it. Like I get rolled into bed at 2:00 in the morning.
Is she in the music industry as well?
No.
Yeah. No. Same with my wife is not.
And it's really nice actually because it means
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry for another. Like I would so say, like I couldn't be with another musician because being with another person who's self-centered and who's like always second guessing themselves and completely like all about like my artistic bliss and that. I'm like, there's no way
I'd slap them. Yeah.
I'm with somebody who's just like appreciates what I do, but she's probably way more grounded.
Yeah, and every so often you go, enough.
Yeah,
we're gonna go out for a drink.
Yeah, exactly.
Enough. We're gonna go and have some food. I'll go for a walk, and you're like, actually, we need to do that.
Yeah, and she shows you that there's more to life than just these notes and harmony
and networking
gigs and networking. And sometimes asking how are you doesn't mean how's your gigs going. That's one thing that I've tried to learn, that if you're talking to somebody and you're like, how you been? Don't talk about gigs. You've been like, well, I've been well. I went to this just and because sometimes it is like, how you been? Oh yeah, I had this gig and then I had this other gig. It's like, I just ask you how you are.
The worst one is when you stood there and you're trying to do that and someone comes up and goes, so what have you been doing? Yeah. What gigs you been doing?
I
don't want to talk about that. Because sometimes, because you never know as well, even the most successful people might have a quiet couple of weeks or something, or maybe they didn't get an audition that they went for, or maybe something didn't work out. It's like, we have a bit of a disease about that.
The thing about the arts, and I guess the maybe acting and no, but I would say in all the arts, because I can't imagine being a writer. Like, being a musician is tough, right? But like being a writer?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Like shopping a novel and getting turned down. And a novel that you put like 3 years into your life into, getting it out.
Yeah.
And then you're asked to just write reviews for Yelp or something. Getting paid $10 for a review. And so the whole working in the arts, and because of, I guess, politically the world that we live in you deal with rejection every day, all the time.
Yeah,
so it is like, for anybody going into the arts, you should pat yourself in the back. Like, you deal with rejection all the time.
Yeah.
You're always auditioning.
Yeah.
You're always interviewing for a new job. Imagine telling that to somebody who works in you know, like in HR in a law firm, that you have to get an interview pretty much every week for a new job. You go insane.
Yeah. Of course.
So you know, you do deal with rejection constantly. And you just have to learn that things are not happening to you. Things are just happening. You know, and sort of, if you get away from that, then you stop taking the whole like, oh, why is this happening to me all the time? Like, there are guys every day who are not getting gigs. Every day.
And also the people that you think are doing, you know, a lot of the big stuff, a lot of the time they've got their own worries, or maybe they're thinking the same thing. Like, these guys on pop gigs who are like, oh, I can't get a function gig. And
I'm calling people now, telling them, because people are like, oh, you're busy, you're on the road. I'm like, no, I went to Russia for a weekend. I need work. And sometimes I'm struggling more with work than the guy who thinks I'm a made man. And I've had those conversations. Oh, I thought you were just killing it. I'm like, no. Like, I'm not on the road all the time. I go out on the weekends sometimes. And of course, sometimes your best friend, social media, sometimes your worst enemy, because you post out a picture of you on a gig in Rome, and people think, well, he's got a gig. I'm not thinking about him. And then you come back home and people think that you're making tons of money traveling the world, and it's not necessarily that.
No.
Like, I'm always telling people, hey, man, if you need a debt, like, call me. Like, whatever. Or I had a girl that called me for some gigs, for like hotel gigs and that kind of thing, and she asked me to send her my videos, and of course I wanted to send her the best, right? So I sent her this, like, Dave Letterman, this gig, you know, this gig with Jay Leno. I sent her like this gig with like 15,000 people and whatever. And she wrote me back. She was just like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, because you seem to be like
overqualified.
Yeah. And I was like, no, I want to work. But I was like, so maybe I shouldn't have sent those videos. But then you're like, well, I want to send my best without sounding presumptuous or without sounding. But you do have to sometimes remind people, like, yeah, that video was 3 years ago. That doesn't mean I'm, you know, Letterman doesn't even have a show anymore. You know, it's like, that was a nice night, but that money's gone.
It's so, that's so strange, isn't it? Like that, because that's exactly what people, when they think about sessioning, is like, if I could just get on, like, that'd be, or if I get on Jules Holland, or and then, like, these guys who do that, like, as you say, it's like whatever the fee from that's already gone on rent or whatever it is, and it's not.
Yeah, you're not nobody's on retainer anymore. I mean, maybe a few people, but you know, it's not like that. So So yeah, you do it's become more like, I mean, unless you're like, you know, Pino, who's like been around for ages. But I think these days, you know, you may have a pop gig, but you're still doing a function on the weekends. Or on a weekend, you know.
I saw a band for a very famous artist. I won't say the name, but there's I think that artist is somebody who's actually maybe done an album recently and done a bit of a comeback and tours quite a lot. But yeah, they have a function band, and you I'll tell you off air who it is, but you would never think that they are the function band, and I think they are on retainer as well.
Well, you know, the Jamiroquai band has, like, they do clinics.
Yeah, exactly.
They do clinics, and you know, and
that's just working musician. It's just the life of a working musician. So.
Because, you know, JK goes on a holiday or doesn't release an album.
You've actually literally said the person. I was like, I'm trying to name the name, and you're like, oh, Jamiroquai.
Well, no, like, that's not to say anything bad about JK. Not. Like, it's a different. And also, I mean, I think with him now, it's not a band anymore. It's JK. Like, I think maybe Derek McKenzie's the only guy who's from the, not even original member, because the first guy was another drummer, but I think they're all session guys. You know?
Well, I think Rob Harris, I don't know when he joined. He's the guitar player, isn't he? I think
he joined in like 1999, I think. But he wasn't around in the Traveling Without Moving days. He wasn't around in the Return of the Space Cowboy. No, I think he joined when the not Dynamite, maybe Dynamite, or so like 98 or something.
Okay,
I remember seeing his name on the, because I'm a huge Jamiroquai fan. I remember seeing his name on the liner notes on the sort of disco-ish album, well, like the one that after Dynamite, I forgot the name.
Right. Okay. That's that's what he specializes at as well, isn't that funk disco kind of little amazing. That stuff. I had some of it on my in-ears that I've the other day when I hadn't listened to Jamiroquai on my in-ears before, and there's actually a lot of guitar layers and stuff going on.
Well, I think he's an integral part of the band as far as I know. I think he's got writing credit on just stuff.
Yeah, I mean you'd hope so because a lot of his stuff makes sense.
Yeah, I saw Jamiroquai in Boston with Rob, like in 2004.
Yeah.
And for my birthday, it was like first time I'd seen him.
I mean, I always think of Jamiroquai as they took the Stevie Wonder formula and they kind of kept, because Stevie Wonder stopped making albums, they carried that on.
They
modernized it a little bit. Dude, we're gonna run out of time in a bit because these cards are gonna get full and stuff, and we've been talking for like nearly 2 hours, man.
Really, it's funny how quick.
It's ridiculous, man. And dude, I could listen to you all day talk about all this, and you've got such like a wealth of experience and like a wealth of knowledge about all these different things, and it's been amazing.
Happy to come back another time. Yeah,
man, for sure, man.
Part 2. This is really cool.
Yeah, it's
I'm
nice.
So glad
man.
you're doing this. Yeah.
It's nice to be able to just kind of chat to somebody like without any distractions for an hour or whatever, and actually. Because we've chatted like 20 minutes here in a bar and stuff like that, but you never actually get anywhere, or you beyond kind of what's that pedal, does it work and stuff like that. But to actually like I didn't know any of this stuff about your background and everything.
Yeah, we got to do another for gear.
Yeah,
that'd
exactly.
be 40 hours.
Yeah, man, dude, thank you so much.
Yeah,
man.
thank you so much.
Oh, dude, before we go, where can we check out Romances and any of the other stuff that you're doing?
Okay, so with Tony Momrelle, you can just just type Tony Momrelle. He's releasing a new album soon, so hopefully we'll be very busy. Yeah. And with Romances is romancesband.com or at romancesband on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. All that stuff. Isle of Wight is our next show. We're gonna have some warm-up shows before that. Yep. So hopefully,
I'll share them on my social media as well. And
our new single's coming out really soon. That's gonna be really cool.
Have we got a name yet?
Parallels is called.
Okay.
Yeah. If I wasn't allowed to say that, I'm sorry, guys. I think I'm fine. I think it's fine. It's just the name of the song. Yeah, but that's coming out really soon.
Yeah.
We're working on the campaign for it and just to release it, and then we have some more shows. Hopefully, after this Isle of Wight thing, our aim is to sign with an agency that we can start doing like some more shows around the country and stuff. Yeah. Just take the project to the next level.
Oh, dude, I hope all the best to you because as I say, I watched some of the stuff that you've released already, and it's great, man. And it's nice to see. It's nice to see guys that kind of making a go of rock music as well because that's not something
that's a lost thing. I've always dreamt that I would have a rock band. So going back really quick to when I say when I was moving to London, I really wanted to get both my sides, like my sort of fusion funky thing, which I get to do that with Tony, and then I wanted to do a rock band because I'm a big fan of Perfect Circle, Tool, Incubus, and all those bands.
Have you heard the new Perfect Circle album?
I have heard just a little bit, but I wasn't too crazy either. Yeah, but they're great.
Metanomes.
So I really always wanted to do that, and just to do it, man. Like if I don't get to do that, then when I'm playing gigs that I'm not crazy about, then it makes it work. I just want to play music that really speaks to me. And of course, being a working musician and work, but why not have the opportunity to say, what really comes out of you?
I think it's important, man. I think more people should do it, man.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you so much. Let's
Thanks
do a second handshake, man. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
The Kind of About Music podcast.